So maybe I should announce you again. So this is a talk by RT4 doctoral student, Evangelos Katis, exploring the landscape of ontologies in education. A review.
This is a paper that I submitted during in the context of the upcoming TOT 2025 conference. I'm Evangelos Katis, PhD candidate in the Department of Philology in the University of Crete, and also in the context of TALOS-AII for SSH project. First glimpse in the overview of this presentation. And let's go with three key aspects, well known though, for my review. Web3, which is already here, is we know that it is entails the transformation of the web from a collection of digital documents into interconnected environment, network, digital devices, and people. Semantic web comes to play a key role on that because it enables intelligent capabilities for computer systems to process and comprehend the context and the meaning of this digital content. How is that possible? By attaching semantic annotations to the web content that describe the context, the meaning, and the relations among them. Ontology, by that aspect, plays also a key role, is the heart of semantic web. But some more about ontology that allow us to specify a common understanding of a particular domain by defining the concepts as classes, their properties as attributes, and the relationships and constraints among them. They also can be shared, processed by computers, and that way enabling automatic reasoning of the data and maximizing also the interoperability, reusability, and scalability across different systems. Is it the only knowledge representation structure? No, we also have other structures like vocabularies, thesauri, taxonomies, entity relations diagrams, knowledge graphs, and semantic networks. But ontology is the most powerful one for that reason. It and in the literature can be found many approaches of ontology development and also for classification of that constructions. Here I present the most four well-known of them. The first one is from Van Hees, 2094, which classified ontologies based on two axes. The first one is depends on the amount and type of the structure of the conceptualization, and there are three categories there: terminological, information ontologies, and knowledge modeling ontologies. The second dimension is based on the subject of the conceptualization, and there are four types there of ontologies: application, domain, generic, and representation. Lassila and McGuinness in 2001 classified ontologies based on the richness of their internal structure. And they come with 8 types of ontologies. It's the yellow-orange column: controlled vocabularies, glossaries, thesauri, hierarchies, formal instances, frames, value restrictions, and general logical constraints. Maybe the most famous one, and they used this from Guarino in 2098, which based on the level of generality, more simpler, with 4 types of ontologies, and they are based on the level of generality. And they give us 4 types: top-level ontologies, which describe general concepts domain ontologies, which describe vocabularies, task ontologies for a task, describing a task, and application ontologies, which are built for a certain application. And the fourth one is from Gomez, Paris, and Benjamins in 1999, which who based on Guarino's approach, give us a more extended list of the most commonly used types. We can see there the 4 types from Guarino's classification and some more like knowledge representation ontologies, meta-ontologies, domain and task ontologies, linguistic, and method ontologies. In the literature, the most famous and standardized ontology languages that are used is the RDF, the well-known RDF, which is Resource Description Framework, which is a standard for data interchange on the web. The RDF schema, which extends the RDF with some vocabulary capabilities for description of the context, and the web ontology language, which is built on RDF and RDFS. The 3 of them are all standards from W3C. And what about development tools? In the literature, there can be found plenty of tools for building an ontology, like OntoEdit, DOE, OILED, WebOde, OntoLingua, SOUP, Neon Toolkit. The most famous and most used is Protégé, and here we have the opportunity to meet Teddy also. About this review, which is the motivation is to provide some valuable contributions to researchers and to myself also, since my thesis is about digitalization in education. So I'm going to build an educational ontology for curricula. And thus, I thought that a literature review about educational ontologies is a good first step. So, a comprehensive review of contemporary research in the domain of educational ontology for the past 5 years is included in this review. The focus of the study is to document the most prevalent ontology building methodologies and highlighting their purpose and usage context. The scope is to identify emerging trends in educational ontology research and investigate possible gaps and future challenges. 4 research questions guide this review. The first one is, what are the application of ontologies in the field of education? The second, what methodologies and frameworks exist for developing ontologies in education? The third, which educational ontologies have been developed and used in the literature during these years? And the fourth one, what are the main trends and directions of the current research in the field? The methodology I choose to follow for searching and choosing the studies that I'm going to analyze is guided by the PRISMA 2020 framework, which is for systematic study selection. On the left side of the monitor, we can see the flow chart that PRISMA 2002 give for a guide such a study. The start of the search includes a comprehensive review across major academic databases. I choose IEEE, Explore, Semantic Scholar, and ACM Digital Library. Databases have most of the literature about informatics, and that's why I choose that database. And Good Scholar Book Scholar it's not a database, it's a search engine about studies, but I'm thinking of it because it gives too many results and many of them are not so peer-reviewed. So I'm thinking to include it or not. It's a question under that still. The search query includes ontology or systematic technology and education or learning. That the search query gives almost all the studies that have these keywords either on their title or in their keywords or in their abstract. The criteria is studies from the past 5 years, 2020 to 2025, written in English and peer-reviewed formats. The screening process includes two phases. The first one, based on the title, keywords, and abstract. Most of the records excluded in that phase that are not relevant to the research questions I mentioned before. And the second method includes a full text reading of the selected papers and examines the relevance with RQs, and if they are chosen for analyzing for the next phase. I'm not sure any numbers in the left side except the first search, because it's under progress, the final analysis and the number of the papers. It's still changing. 4 reviews have we found that are particularly noteworthy, relevant to the research questions I mentioned before. The first one is from Steinstein et al., 2020, who focus on 3 key points: ontology classification, ontology building methodologies, and ontology usage. The authors analyzed papers from 2015 to 2019. The ontology building methodologies categorized in 3 types: collaborative construction building methods, building ontology from scratch or reusing existing one, and 3 application-dependent and application-independent methodologies. And they categorize educational ontologies in 4 main groups based on the role they play. Ontologies for describing learning domains, for describing curriculum modeling and management, ontologies for learner data, and for describing e-learning services. The second review is from Wang and Wang, 2021, who analyzed papers from 2008 to 2020. Their focus are on ontologies in e-learning environments, and they are comprehensively analyzed the types of educational ontologies using 5 measures: ontology design, creation, semantic richness, and evaluation in a method way. They categorize educational ontologies in 6 types based on their different uses. The first one is learning objects, the second one course resource, the third one teaching and learning methods, the fourth learner and context, fifth is the assessment, and the sixth one is the other educational related activities. The third review is from Al-Yahia et al., 2015, who focused on the role of ontologies also in e-learning environments. They analyzed papers from 2000 to 2012, and they classified educational ontologies in 4 categories: curriculum modeling and management, describing learning domains, describing learning data, and describing in-learning services. You can find that they are similar categorization like the first one from Steinstein et al. And the fourth is from Tapia Leon et al., 2018, who analyzed studies from 2012 to 2017 with the application of ontologies and their usage in higher education. The results they mention, they conclude that the research interest for education ontologies in higher education concentrates on curriculum, data integration, evaluation, recommendation of learning objects, e-learning, higher education enterprise, information retrieval, and the aid to other purpose. They also examine ontology creation process based on 4 criteria: the methodology they use, the language, the tools used, and if they reuse existing ontologies, the authors that made and built other ontologies. The results from my review follow the research questions. So I have 4 subsections here, 4 paragraphs, each one for each research question. The first one is for application of ontologies in education. In the left side, you can see the percentage chart from the ontologies, types of ontologies, and in the right one is the metric with absolute numbers about how often that ontologies met in the studies that I analyzed. The great number of the studies focusing on the area of curriculum modeling and management with 30%. The second one, as you can see also from the right, is in personalized learning, which is a higher interest, and it can be found that it has an increasing interest in that area. Another high interest is in knowledge learning domain, describing the knowledge learning domain, and also an increasing interest is in content recommendation and learning outcomes and assessment, which is about 10% each. The second question is about the methodologies used in the ontology building. In literature, there can be found numerous approaches for ontology building, but I can say that not all authors present the methodology that they used in their studies. 3 methodologies are used more, and I can say that older methodologies continue to maintain their popularity. The 3 most used is methodology, presented by Fernandez Lopez et al. In 1997. The neon, the last one, is from KIT, 2018, and the ontology development 101 that have been presented by Noe and McGuinness in 2001. It can be found, it's the most popular, I can say, at least for the study that I examined. Also, some authors combine methodologies and introduce their own methodological framework for the application that they wanted. In the chart, in the chart, we can see the methodology from Noe and McGuinness called Ontology Development 101, which is the most famous, and it can be found in most of the studies and includes 7 steps of creating an ontology. The third query is about educational ontologies that have been developed in the studies I examined. Here is 2 lists, is a table that is 2 lists with ontologies that they developed in the studies. Most of them are for the domain ontology. Some others are task ontologies, which is the most popular. Domain ontologies and task ontologies are the most popular, at least in the studies examined. And some of them, like the third one, L4, is an application ontology concentrated on the foundation of presenting online learning material. That classification follows the classification by Gomez, Perez, and Benjamins, which is the fourth one that I presented in the slides before. And the fourth one is some current trends and directions. It found that curriculum modeling and management continues to get much attention in the research. Also, personalized learning environments and interoperability and resources recommendation are getting increasing attention. And I think that is logical. And also the assessment and in an automatic way of learning outcomes and enhancement of learning competencies, also in an automatic way with intelligent authoring and tutoring systems, are getting increasing attention also in that. And of course, nowadays, increasing interest is also in the integration with emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the LLMs, large language models, into a broader educational systems, which is the greater challenge nowadays. Special thanks I have to say to my professors Eleni Katsarou, Christoforos, and Charalambos Kondelakis, which are the supervisor of my PhD. And also I have to thank TALOS-AΙ for SSH project, which in the context of that project, this review is founded. Thank you for your attention and